Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents, they handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. Got a fascinating story for you today. Today our guest is Cathy Terkanian. And the name of the show is called Find Aundria Bowman. And it's spelled Aundria Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N. And you can find that page on Facebook. Now, this is a fascinating story that takes a bunch of twists and turns all over the place. But we have Cathy Terkanian on the phone, who I believe is the biological mother of Aundria Bowman. So, Cathy, are you there?
I am.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. So tell us about yourself, Cathy. Who is Cathy Terkanian?
Well, I'm a retired nurse from the East Coast. I live in California now. I'm married. I have no children that live with me, but I have 3 dogs, and that's pretty close. I came into this story very, very late in the whole cycle of things, but that's because my daughter was adopted by the Bowmans.
Well, let me stop you right there for a second. You said you're from the East Coast. Where on the East Coast?
I'm from New Orleans. I'm a Navy brat. It's hard to say, but I'm going to claim New Orleans.
Oh, New Orleans. No kidding, because you don't have any kind of New Orleans accent at all.
No, my mother didn't have an accent, and she was from Arkansas. I mean, we could pull it out if we needed to, but most of the time we didn't have one. Strange enough.
Yeah, people think I have an accent too. I tell them no. Okay, so originally from the East Coast, New Orleans, and now you live in California. What part of California?
I live in Southern California. The area is Riverside. The town is far enough away from the interstate, nobody knows where it is.
Okay. Yeah, we just drove up and down the whole state of California with the Bernie Sanders campaign in the campaign bus. Yeah, we went to places I didn't even know existed.
Yeah. California's a big state. I'm quite awed by the distance we have to travel to get anywhere.
Yeah, being from the East Coast, because everything's so close, you just hop in a car, you're right there. It kind of spoils me, too.
And you really don't think about California as having any country, out in the country, you know? Maybe you think way out in the vineyards, but you just don't think like I'm in the country.
Well, we were up in this mountain called Kelseyville, where, and when we looked on the map when we were booking for a motel room, it said 15 miles away. So we said, okay, great, we'll be there in 15 minutes. But it was...
No, you won't.
No, it was 15 miles an hour on this mountain in the dark in the middle of the night. It took us hours to get there. Yeah, I know. I thought we'd be there in a couple of minutes. And then it was funny, too, because the only other people staying at the motel were all smuggling pot. They were all pot people buying loads of marijuana up there from these farms and bringing it back in. So...
Go over. I bet Colorado's doing the same thing, and Washington and Oregon.
So we had a little adventure there. Okay, so now you're retired, and you're living with your 3 pets up there and your husband. Now, the name of the story here is Find Aundria Bowman. So give us an idea. Who was Aundria Bowman?
Well, she was born Alexis Miranda Badger. That's what I named her. She was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I kept her for 5 months, but beyond, the situation got beyond my 17 years of being able to handle, and my mother convinced me to allow her to be adopted. So that took place in the middle part of 76. I didn't know her. All I knew was the infant. And so as a person growing up and a teenager who lived with the Bowmans, I don't know that person. The only way I know her now is through her friends who came forward on the Facebook page. And from what they've told me, she was just a shy, quiet little girl who, like most teenagers, was just trying to find where to put her foot next. But then I learned some rather disturbing things about her behavior in the last weeks and months before she went missing that put a whole different shine on who she is to me. She had gone to her teacher, and now I believe, from what I'm gathering from the friends that I spoke to of hers, she was more or less cornered by the teachers. She just was... situation looked like it was getting worse and worse, I believe. But one of the kids, now an adult, told me that she would get on the bus looking very troubled, but one day she got on the bus dripping blood off her hand. And I believe that's when the whole thing culminated into what's going on at home. Now, Dennis Bowman had just gotten out of prison for trying to rape a teenage girl along the side of the road.
Well, let me stop you there.
They didn't even know that.
Let me stop you there. So you were 17 years old. You gave birth to this little daughter, a little 5-year-old girl, and you kept her for 5 months. This is around 1976. You gave her up for adoption. Now, she immediately went into this Bowman household?
Immediately. Immediately.
Okay.
And I found out through the detective that Dennis Bowman had lied on the adoption paperwork, saying that he did not have a criminal background prior to adopting my daughter, but I found out he did. And the way I found out was a friend of his told me that they had tried to join the military together in 1971, I believe it was. And the military let him in. He joined the Army. Dennis Bowman wanted to join the Navy. But the Navy told Dennis Bowman, oh, no, you cannot come in until you clean up that stuff on your record. Now, that's what the friend told me, Dennis Bowman never told this friend the details. So in 72, he either lied to the Navy and got in that way, or he didn't clean it up enough that all of it was gone. So I think it was an offense that he did as a teenager in high school.
Now, have you run any kind of searches to try and find what his criminal record was?
Well, I hired a PI, and he has, as far as I can tell, expunged it. The PI couldn't find anything, and I can't find anything on the search. But now get this. When he went to re-enlist in the Navy after he and Brenda adopted my daughter, the Navy went, oh, no, we don't want you. You go away. So he was discharged other than honorable.
Okay.
But he went back to Michigan and told everybody he was discharged honorably. So, and he disappeared for periods of time, I understand.
Stop there for 1 second. Now, you gave up this, you were in Michigan yourself as well?
No. I lived in Louisiana when my daughter was born, but my mother lived in Virginia. When my marriage fell apart, it was the holidays, it was around Thanksgiving, so I went home to my mother. I found out when I got there, because I hadn't spoken to her for a year and a half during my pregnancy with Alexis and slightly before, and that's for reasons that just are a whole nother world. But anyway, when I got home, I found out she had gone through a big cancer operation. She had a malignancy in her breast and had her breast removed. And, she was only 38 years old, and they told her if you live 5 years, you'd be lucky. And if you make it that 5 years, you'll live another 5 years. Well, she lived 10 years and died. So
my question is, how did the baby wind up in Wisconsin?
She wasn't in Wisconsin. She never got there. How'd she end up in Michigan?
Michigan.
I took her to Virginia after my marriage broke up. My mother talked me into letting her be adopted. I let her be adopted before she turned 2 years old. The Bowmans were from Michigan in Virginia because he was in the Navy.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Yeah. Now, Bowman was married to this woman, Brenda. Did they have any other kids when they wanted to adopt?
No. They believed, in their 20s now, and I think they were only married a few years before they adopted Alexis, but they believed they couldn't have children. Now, as soon as he got out of prison, she had a baby. Boom. Nothing wrong with them.
Well, okay, then wait a second. What did he go to prison for?
He went to prison for attempted murder was the original charge, and they got it pled down to criminal sexual conduct with intent to forcibly rape a girl in the woods by gunpoint.
Okay. Now,
so he got 10 years for that.
Was this a private adoption, or did you go through an agency? What was this?
My mother went to Catholic Charities without telling me, laid out my whole life before them and why she believed I shouldn't keep my daughter. Catholic Charities, without talking to me, picked up the phone and called the state. Well, before I knew it, I was being given an option. My mother could take her or the state could take her, okay? Now, I was only 17, but I was married and emancipated. So, but I was afraid, too. I was afraid for both of us, and that's a real wise thing to be at that age, okay? But they played on that, and they played on it to the point of they convinced me. My mother couldn't take her. My mother had totally destroyed my life by the time of 14. There was no way I was going to let her have him, my daughter. So they convinced me that there were people out there that would adopt an infant that would give her everything that any child could possibly want. And I had the worst childhood you can imagine, so I opted for the unknown.
But at the same time, Catholic Charities was also like, they were using the carrot, saying she's going to have a great life, but also they were using a stick, saying that we're going to report you to Child Protective Services and have your kids taken away from you?
Yes, sir.
Isn't that wonderful? Sir. Would you recommend people go to Catholic Charities today and get involved with them in any way?
Actually, they supposedly pulled out. The year I learned that this happened, they quit doing adoptions. Just, boop, that's it. No more. They couldn't get babies as easily as they used to be able to.
Right.
Guilt trip people into them and then just outright take them from them. But now they're in the big business of adoption. They own or they're partnered with lawyers who weasel their way. You don't want to get me there.
Yeah. Now, we've done a couple shows.
You don't want to get me there.
Yeah, we've done a couple of shows on that. This is why I brought it up. Now, how long was your baby in the home of Dennis and Brenda Bowman until he went off to prison?
6 years.
6 years. Okay, so she was still a child. And then he went off and he attempted murder in the woods with some little girl who was about 14 years old as well?
That's right. He dropped my daughter off to her first grade class at Catholic church schools. You know, a little pre-K, kindergarten thing. He got on his motorcycle and went about stalking the woods. The roads go way back in the woods of Allegan County. And Ottawa County is where he spied this poor little teenage. She was 19 years old, so we're still calling her a teenager. I believe very much that she was still a teenager. Anyway, he passed her on his motorcycle, spied her all alone out in the woods where he was. He turned around. This is all in the court record. He turned around. She was going north. He went south, and, he turned around and followed her and then turned around again and threw his motorcycle out in front of her bicycle, pulled a gun on her, shot at her twice. They never found the gun, but they found the casings.
All right.
Just where she told him they were. But just as he shot at her, a truck was driving up behind him. She saw it, he didn't. So she took her bicycle and threw it out in front of the truck and ran out in the front of the truck. Now, I talked to this woman, and she told me she'd rather be shot in the back by him than have to go in the woods with him. So he takes off. The truck takes off, takes her home. She calls the police. The police show up at her house. She describes this whole scenario. The policeman puts her in the car, takes her to where they have Bowman stopped on his motorcycle. She IDs him. They take him off. Now, in his possessions, they find a great big knife, too. Okay. So that's where that story starts.
So he gets convicted. He has your daughter for 6 years. He gets convicted, and he goes to prison for 10 years?
He goes to prison for 5 years.
5 years.
He goes to Jackson, Michigan prison, and they had a riot up there. And he ends up with his records in his lap. And he sends Brenda to a lawyer and tries to plead his case to, I think, either have it thrown out or, I don't know, it's in the court records. I haven't read it recently, so exactly what he was trying to do, I don't remember. What he ended up happening to him is they told him, no, you can't have that thrown out for that reason, and you won't go, or you won't stay in Jackson. You'll go to Kinross Prison, which is up in Concholi, the upper UP of Michigan. And so that's where he went. And I think it was their plan to a degree, the lesser of all the things that could happen. So anyway, Brenda packs up my daughter, who's in the first grade in Holland, Michigan, and she moves to Kinross is the area, which the house she moves into is less than a half a mile from where he's in prison, while my daughter has to get on a bus at 6 years old, ride 10 miles in the middle of a blizzard to go to elementary school in Rudyard. I mean, it's just horrible. So she does that. She's up there for 5 years. Would have stayed for 10 had he not gotten out. Can't believe it could be for good behavior, but likely it was. And he was paroled and sent back down to where he had offended, because that's what they make you do. And he went to a halfway house. Yeah. My daughter and Brenda stayed up in that area until Alexis got out of school. Now, I'm just placing this together as a timeline because I don't have exact.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever spoken to Dennis Bowman or Brenda Bowman?
I've spoken to Dennis. Couldn't keep my temper. Tried my best. Told him, pretty much what I'd learned about him, and that I knew that he was hiding some evil deed. And he said, "Who is this?" And I said, "I'm her mother." And that's about where it ended.
Okay, now, both Dennis and Brenda, are they alive today?
They are alive today.
Now, you said before you hired a PI. Did he ever try and contact these people and talk to them?
Actually, he went right to the police department. He was a retired policeman, and he went to the police department. He did what really needed to be done. He encouraged the police to pull this uninvestigated case out and start investigating it because they unearthed me and they couldn't just leave me like this. So it cost me a lot of money, but he built me a bridge over time and space.
But he never actually spoke to Dennis or Brenda.
Actually, I met Brenda at a Missing in Michigan event where she and her biological daughter showed up to they have a family get-together early in the morning, where all the family of these missing people get together, and they can kind of just, deflate their emotions a bit. And she tried to sandbag me at one of them. And I'm coming from California to Michigan, and thankfully not alone because of my friend Carl Koppelman that I talked to you about. And, my stabilizing force in that horrible moment. I noticed her in that intimate circle, all parents only, all family only circle. She'd never gone to any kind of event before. She'd never looked for this kid I don't want to put my opinion on top of all this. I just I'll give the facts to you, and everybody can decide. But basically, once she knew I was on this, in part of this and going to these events and so forth, she got talked into going to one by someone who was trying to help me investigate this, but they didn't tell me she was going to show up. So it was kind of like sneak it in on the side to me. And that sounds paranoid, but, it's not. It's just what it is, These people caused her to go missing, and they're trying to throw up every kind of image that makes them look innocent they possibly can. And this was just another attempt.
Okay, we'll get to that. But did you get a chance to talk to Brenda?
No. My friend did, but I didn't. It just wasn't
an interesting question I would have for Brenda was, why would you stay with Dennis trying to shoot and kidnap a young girl? Has anybody ever asked her that question?
I do believe they probably have, and she's one of these pathetic women that will do anything just to say, I'm in a relationship with a man. Okay. And now she's got a biological child with him, so no matter what, he reoffended in 98, and this little girl was 10 years old. He made her part of his crime. He took this little girl who was selling Girl Scout cookies to his intended victim's home, set her down on the couch with the intended victim while he cased the house.
So he had.
Now, Brenda knows this. Brenda knows he did this. She's still with him. Now, I think it's twisted up in the head.
Okay. Let's. He reoffended. He had another case in '98. What was the circumstances of that case?
He was working with a young woman who I believe was in her 20s and described as a very pretty young woman at a place that was like an assembly kind of work for yachts. He was a wood worker, so they were probably building cabinets and such like that. And it was I think it was a part-time job for both of them, so they really didn't see each other very often, but he got fixated on her. And in the aftermath of what he tried to do to her, one of the therapists said that it was not in his head the way he thought of her was, now she barely knew him, not unlike a full-blown affair. Okay? He was breaking into her trailer over and over and so many times that the police that are working my daughter's case, okay, the Allegan County Sheriff's Department, put a, what's it called, an alarm on the trailer, and Bowman set it off, breaking in. So the cop drives up, and there's Bowman jumping out the window. I think he was, coming out the door, but anyway, crowbar in hand. 3 crowbars were there, pry marks all over the door. That police officer let him go?
Oh, yeah.
Let him go? So the police officer gets halfway there and goes, oh, something just ain't right about this, and calls the woman up. And the woman says, I don't know that man. I would never let him go in my house and use the bathroom. Now, she did let him come in the house to sell her daughter to sell Girl Scout cookies. She knew him from work. But she had been she was not there. She never gave him permission to go into her house when she wasn't there, but that's what he told the policeman. That's how he got away. The policeman went over to his house after he talked to this intended victim and caught Bowman burning stuff. Went through Bowman's trash, couldn't make out anything as far as, parts of bodies or pieces of evidence or whatever, but still had that creeped out horrible feelings enough that he brought with him what's called an agreement to search. Agreement to search is not a search warrant. It's something typed up by the police department, very official looking, and the police officer can ask, can I, have you sign this? So, it's agreed upon that I'm going to search what's here. Well, Bowman has what they call in Michigan an outbuilding at the time. Now, this was 98, and he still lives on the same property. He's still at the same property he was on. He bought right at the same time my daughter went missing, okay? I think she's buried there, but I'm going to get off that and go back to what the police officer found after Bowman signed that. Well, after Bowman signed that agreement to search, the police officer wrote in outbuilding, okay, at the top. Bowman saw him do it, and so the policeman went about searching. He found in the outbuilding a duffel bag with a sawed-off shotgun with all the identifying numbers sanded off, dark clothing, a mask with a black mesh in the front so you couldn't see the person's face, lots of this girl's private items she owned, her lingerie, her underwear, her stuff that unmentionable stuff that he shouldn't have his hands on. He had in a duffel bag in that outbuilding. They took him to jail. He ended up getting, they proved, it's in the records, that he had gotten into her house, stalked the place, cut the blinds so he could come back and peek through the windows. He admits it in the court records, okay? He admits he took his daughter there to sell Girl Scout cookies to this woman while he's casing her place. They caught him about the whole, he told them he went there because he had diarrhea and had to go to the bathroom. They caught him on that and a lie when they said, okay, where's the toilet paper at? He couldn't tell them. All right, so he's got all these personal items of her. The detective that found me, that
wait, let me stop you there for 1 second.
Hard. I've been looking for Alexis for years.
Wait. Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there for a second.
His possession that had her stuff in it and the shotgun and so forth is what they call a rape kit.
Okay, can you hear me?
But because that police officer penciled in outbuilding, they threw it out, all of it.
Okay, can I stop you there?
The fact that he cut the blinds, all of it.
Okay,
and only charged him with breaking and entering with intent to commit larceny.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, so he got caught with a convicted felon with a shotgun, and he wasn't charged with that.
No, he wasn't charged with that.
How much time did he get on this second offense?
1 year in jail, time served, 5 years probation, and whatever amount of time in sex offender program.
Okay. Now
he's still not on a list of anything. He's never been registered as a sex offender. I got to tell you one other story about Dennis Bowman. 10 years later, he tried to reoffend again. His daughter was going to Kalamazoo campus, to a college in Kalamazoo, and I found out through this private detective that Dennis Bowman had to be thrown off the campus over and over and over again. So I'm beginning to think that every 10 years he just can't hold it together anymore. And he goes out stalking.
So he was trespassing on his daughter's college campus? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Now, how long was Aundria living with the Bowmans until she went missing?
After he got out of prison? Because she lived with him until she was 6, and then he went to prison, and then he got out. She was 11.
Okay.
She went missing when she was just 14, almost 15.
And
now, in the sex of... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, was he in prison at the time she went missing, or was he living in the home?
No, he was out.
Okay.
He was out on parole for that 81, and she went to her teacher and said, he's molesting me, while he's on parole for that 81 crime, pulling the gun on the girl, trying to shoot her and force her into the woods, or shooting at her to force her into the woods.
Okay, let me stop you there. Now, what year?
All right.
What year was it when she went to her teachers and told them? Was it 1998 when she told the teachers that?
No. It was November of '88.
In 1988, she went to her teachers and said she was being molested by a man that was still on parole, and no one did anything about it?
Exactly.
Okay.
They sent a truant officer and a social worker out there, and Dennis Bowman and Brenda Bowman just smooched it all over. Said Alexis was a runaway because she was adopted and angry about that.
Okay. Now, let me ask you something now. Because that would be like a really simple case, okay? If you got a guy that's on parole, and there's accusations made against him, you can contact the parole officer. They have no rights. You can search their house without a warrant, without anything. It's very easy to get this guy.
They didn't do anything.
Yeah, very easy to get this guy violated. Now, does this guy have any kind of political connections or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Then just sloppy
Sorry,
police
I don't
work.
mean to sound angry. It just really enrages me.
No, I understand. So then it's just sloppy police work that no one made an effort, and your daughter just fell between the cracks.
Yes, sir.
Now
that's the story they brought me. That's the story the detective who was trying to ID Racine Jane Doe brought me. And now that's the story I've concluded on my own research.
Okay, before we get to that, now, these teachers that your daughter was reporting this abuse, have you ever talked to them?
No. By the time I found out, it had been 20 years.
I understand. Yeah, but even now...
But my detective did. My PI did.
Okay, good. You want to give the name of your PI and give him a plug?
I can't.
Okay, no problem.
I can't. He asked me not to. I can in other circumstances, but not now.
Okay,
not
no problem.
Right now.
No problem. Okay, so he talked to these teachers and stuff like that. Now, and what kind of response did he get from these teachers to his questions?
Well, one of the teachers was 80-something.
Okay.
And he said basically the response was, I don't remember.
Right.
Now, he went to the psychiatrist that talked to Bowman in '98 and pointed his finger at Bowman for Alexis having gone missing, and that guy can't find the paperwork. Don't know where it is.
Well, okay, it has been like 30 years, 40 years. You can't blame him for that
right.
either. Yeah,
No, I don't.
Yeah, but you said there was an incident where Aundria was getting on the school bus and there were blood on her hands?
Right. She was I set up this Facebook page, and several of her friends that she knew in junior high school and elementary school from Holland and Hamilton, Michigan, contacted me in a private message through that Facebook page. And one of the guys, just a young kid, 12, 13 years old at the time, said that he noticed, she's a pretty little girl, but she was new, and everybody notices the new girl. She always looked troubled. Nobody told me anything but that. She always looked troubled. And one day she got on the bus looking troubled and dripping blood off her hand.
Now, she was bleeding or she was in contact with blood?
No, she was bleeding.
She was bleeding from like her hand or her arm up her sleeve or something of that nature.
Like I think probably she's walking along, swinging her hand, just a cut was bleeding and dripping down her arm and onto the ground. And I think that's what prompted the teacher to say, "What's going on here?" Because she went missing not long after that.
Oh, now, okay, so before we get to that, now there's another thing in the timeline I was reading here, something involving a circus sideshow attraction. How does that fit into this?
I was a gorilla girl, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
That's why I can handle this. I was a runaway. My mother was cruel to me. I had a horrible childhood, reasons I'm not going into. I ran away. That's how I supported myself one summer. I was a gorilla girl.
Okay, so you ran away at 14
And I never went unclothed one moment. If that article says that, it's a lie.
Okay, wait a second. I didn't read the article. Let's start at this. You ran away from home at 14?
Yes.
And you went to join the circus?
Well, actually, I ran away from home from Virginia, and I hitchhiked to New Orleans. And I got there, it was Mardi Gras time.
Okay.
No, I didn't actually get the job then. I went to work with a girl that I had met as just a little maid in an apartment complex she lived in. And as time went on, my life changed, and I hooked up with people in the carnival. But I only did it for like 6 weeks,
Okay.
And I went back to New Orleans, and I supported myself. I ran away from home, and there's a whole story behind that, too. I never lived at home again. You know, my mother had 6 kids. She'd been through 3 marriages. It was a nightmare, blah, 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 blah.
Now, as the Gorilla Girl, what were your duties and responsibilities and as your employment as the Gorilla Girl?
Let me just say this. Yeah. I wasn't the gorilla.
Okay.
Actually, my job was an optical illusion.
Okay.
An optical illusion is, back in those days, at the carnival, the way they set it up, the one I was in, the show I was in, it took a trailer that was about 15 feet long, 20 feet long, and about 10 feet wide, paint the inside of it all black. Put a piece of actually, situate the lights where they only shine at the black wall. No, away from the black wall. Anyway, you put a piece of plexiglass in a 45-degree angle in that box, and the lights will bounce off of that piece of plexiglass and out to the audience. And then you have another side, because you cut the box in half. The person standing on the other side, their image, they can't be seen at all because all you can see is the lights bouncing off that glass and my image on it. So as they turn the image down on me and up on the person behind the glass, it looks like on the glass you're merging if you line them up right, you know? If you line the eyes up right and the nose. You're old enough to remember those old black and white movies where the
Sure.
werewolf became the man again. And the man became the werewolf.
So this was an optical illusion that turned you into a gorilla.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
So once it was done, now this was a real big thing back in the day. You know, this is the only way you could do any kind of, you know, they didn't have films. They didn't have ways of causing this to happen for people to get all worked up about. But anyway, once they completely got rid of the image of me on the plate glass, brought up the lights on the person standing on the other side of the plate glass, then you have the whole gorilla, okay? The image of me in the bathing suit has faded away, and the gorilla's image has come up. Well, they ballyed this, what they call in carnival ballying. They talk about this gorilla's chained inside this box. He can't get out. But he jumps away from the wall. He squeezes around the glass. He grabs a hold of the bars of the cage, and he shakes them, okay? And it's not locked. It's not electronically locked. He throws the gate open, and he runs out on stage, and everybody runs out of the tent. And that's the show.
Okay, well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay.
It was funny.
Yeah.
It was 1974. I can't tell you how many tents I emptied, okay? 72.
Now, that's one of those experiences that, it's a great memory. It's a fun lifetime, especially back in the 70s, a whole different kind of world.
It was hilarious.
Okay.
Everybody was so comical.
Now, we're at the break. We're at the 30-minute break here, so I want to take a little commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you about the situation of Aundria turning up missing from the Bowman home and what their official story was and all that. So we're going to be taking a 5-minute commercial break. Now, you won't be able to hear the ad, and we won't be able to talk during the commercial break either. But we'll be back in about 5 minutes from now. We're speaking with Cathy Terkanian, and the Facebook page is called Find Aundria Bowman, Aundria M Bowman, Bowman. And I'll have a link to that, too, so people can go to it. So if you have any kind of information about this, because this is an ongoing investigation, we're trying to find out information. So if you have any kind of information, this story jogs your memory, contact this website here and send them a message. We'll be right back after these messages.
And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents, they handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. Don't forget our newest sponsor, pscoco.com, Phoebe Saad's Cocoa site, her chocolate website where you can get all kinds of silky smooth chocolates. We're here today with Cathy Terkanian, and we're talking about the story of the website called Find Aundria M Bowman. Cathy Terkanian is also known as the Gorilla Girl in a former life. Today, she's living in California and so kind to share this story with us. Kathy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Yep.
Okay. Or I can call you Gorilla Girl if you want. Now, we get to the point of this story.
I won't answer you, but you can go ahead.
Okay. I got to listen. I can tease you a little bit. Okay. Yeah.
A little bit.
I've had my own adventures, too. Let me tell you. I ran with the bulls. And I would have loved to spend some time with the circus or the carnival or something like that. I've always wanted to get one of those booths down at Seaside Heights where they throw the darts at the balloons or something like that. I'd love to do that.
Is that in New Jersey?
Yeah, down in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. I would love to do that. I always wanted, my whole life growing up on the East Coast, to one summer get one of those booths and just, step right up.
It's fun.
I know,
it's fun.
yeah.
You just live in a different world.
Yeah, especially back in the 70s or 80s when it was actually fun.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, now it's...
We traveled in it was like a rinky-dink show. It wasn't anything big. And they had what they called the black lots, literally, and the white lots, literally.
Oh, yeah.
And the white lots always played on the concrete tops, and we always played the dirt tops, because the black lots were black folks in the South. And they segregated themselves. I don't know why. I don't care why. That's just what happened, But I ate some of the best barbecue and scared as many people as I possibly could.
Fascinating. Yeah, a whole different world back in those days. People don't realize.
Yes, sir. It was a different world in the South.
Yeah. Now give us an idea. Now, just to recap the story. You were 17 years old. You give birth to this daughter. You were married, but you gave birth to this daughter. The mother put pressure on you. Catholic Charities put pressure on you. You gave up the daughter to adoption. She wound up in the home of this Dennis Bowman and Brenda Bowman. And it turns out later on, Dennis Bowman had some serious convictions here for attempted rape and kidnapping with a weapon, and this other thing, breaking and entering, and with a defaced shotgun. Charges dropped. Now, how did it come about that this young girl, Aundria Bowman, turns up missing?
Well, she had told her teacher that she was being molested, and I can only think from his background, sexually molested. That teacher got in touch with the truant officer for both schools in Holland and Hamilton. In turn, that truant officer got in touch with a social worker, and they went out to the Bowmans. And they said, look here, this daughter, or your daughter's saying XYZ about you. And the story the Bowmans gave these people, now Alexis wasn't there, but the Bowmans were interviewed together, right, was that she was angry and basically acting out because she'd found out she was adopted. He denied, of course, molesting her, and I don't know why, but they sent her back without checking who he was and that he was on parole for a sexual crime, and that he had gotten 10 years for this crime because he pulled a gun on a teenage girl and shot at her. And so, that was overlooked completely for 20 years. Even when he reoffended in 1998, and he wrote a plea letter to the judge. And the plea letter, he uses his daughters again, and this time he uses them in the plea letter in that he says he has two daughters, one 25, and Alexis was only 24 at the time, and the other one 11, and that they had been such a influence of him growing up, and he matured so much, and blah, I don't know the exact wording he put, but he failed to mention that Alexis, that's the name I gave her and used, Aundria, had been missing for 10 years. He failed to mention that in that plea to that judge, and the plea was to get him from going back to prison for many years for what they caught him in possession of, just that sawed-off shotgun. I have a list of all the charges. He would have spent 2 lifetimes in jail.
Isn't it fascinating? You would think that any sane person, you're facing some charges, serious charges, but still, it's not murder. It's not, missing.
No.
And he would actually bring up your daughter's name in this plea to the judge. Why would any sane person draw attention to that circumstances that right. This girl is missing? It's just insanity.
Well, they say that people who commit murder can't keep it to themselves.
Yeah.
They have to find a way to let it out. When he was in the the court took in consideration that he had this young daughter and that she was going to fall on such hard times if he went to prison. So they decided, okay, we'll do this. We'll put him a year time served, because they kept him in there a year deciding this. We'll give him whatever amount of time because he had pleas coming from his church and blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God. And that, they would let him time served. He would go to sex offender program for I don't know how long and then spend 5 years on probation, okay? So that was what he was eventually given as a sentence for breaking into that woman's trailer. While he was in the sex offender program, the therapist keyed on what he had said to in the plea about Alexis. He had said something about a girl who went missing, yet didn't say she was missing. So he questioned Bowman. Now, I'm only putting that together in my own head that seems logical to me, what brought up the whole conversation, because we found out, and we only have a piece of this therapist's report, that when he talked to Bowman about Aundria having gone missing, Bowman always ended the conversation saying, all the evidence is lost. Now, that coupled with the age that Alexis went missing. She went missing, according to this therapist, at the same time Bowman's problems as a teenager started to come together.
Interesting.
Okay? He is a sociopath. He's a pathological sociopath. He doesn't exist inside that body. Everything that happens in his life that's bad, somebody else did it. That's how he remains able to basically live with a conscience that doesn't, run out and say, I murdered a teenage girl, okay? But it slips through the cracks, And when he said all the evidence is lost, a chill went up that therapist's back. Right on top of that, now this is in the conclusion of the time spent in sex offender program by Bowman, okay? Somehow the police got a hold of that when they were trying to ID Racine Jane Doe.
Before we get to that, a couple of questions. Now, when Alexis turns up, supposedly runs away, did they make a report to the police saying, hey, our adopted daughter just ran away?
Yes, they did. They called the police and said, now this was 3 months after she had said Bowman sexually molested her.
Right.
They called on their wedding anniversary, okay, their 19th wedding anniversary. They called, reported Alexis had, I don't really know exactly if he said he saw her that day that she went missing, but he said that he came home, that his money was missing, and that some of her clothes were missing, and that she had run away. Now, Brenda claims she saw Alexis on that day, reading a magazine, and that's a whole other story there, but she claims she saw Alexis on that day. Bowman says he came home and discovered these things were missing. He doesn't mention Brenda. He doesn't mention any of that, and that she had run away. Now, when that police officer in 08, and I don't know that we covered Racine Jane Doe yet, so maybe I ought to hold off.
We haven't talked about that yet, but back to the wedding day. Now, are they saying on the wedding day, hey, she ran away 3 months ago, or they're saying she ran away today?
They're saying she ran away that day.
And what makes you say it was 3 months ago?
I'm sorry, say again?
What makes you say it was 3 months ago?
No, she accused Bowman in November, 3 months prior.
Gotcha.
They sent her back into Bowman's house. 3 months later, on the Bowman's wedding anniversary, she vanishes. And
they called police. Now, did anybody else see her prior to that or that day or anything like that besides the two parents?
Ask me that question again. I didn't catch it all.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Did anybody else see her alive that day besides the parents, the Bowmans?
No. But she had the day before, now I found this out through my Facebook page, and kids that knew her back then set up this big thing with these two Mexican kids, and maybe there were more than two, but these are the two that surfaced to me, okay? And I only really talked to one, but he said he was so disturbed that she didn't show up, he went looking for her. That he rode his little bicycle. Now, they're only 14 years old, so he's not driving a car looking for her. Oh, he had a motorcycle, or a moped. He took his moped, drove from Holland down to where they lived on the Holland-Hamilton line, which I think probably he drove it a couple of miles, went to the there's a truck stop, like a big truck stop slash, gas up place not far from where the house she went missing from, which has now been torn down, is still today. Well, almost 30 years ago, this kid rode his bicycle down there and asked him, have you seen her? No, they hadn't seen her. So he was so disturbed, but yet so freaked out and creeped out by Bowman that he never approached Bowman. Now, I believe what happened is, like when he was stalking his daughter's college campus, he was stalking Alexis' high school campus, and he disapproved of her hanging out with these Mexican kids. And there's a whole other story behind that. We'll get to it.
That's interesting. Now, are there any friends of hers from that time who said, yes, she was planning on running away or anything like that at all?
Well, Brenda, interestingly, in the weeks, and actually it spanned over quite a bit of time because then everything became electronic and she started noticing things that she contacted the police about. But through my private detective, I found out every sighting that was reported to the police of Alexis in Holland or otherwise was called in by Brenda Bowman.
Oh, so she was making these calls reporting sightings.
That's right.
Oh, boy.
None confirmable. As a matter of fact, my PI, myself, and Carl Koppelman kind of started talking to those people, and I talked to the woman that convinced me that it wasn't Alexis because I asked her, how tall was this girl? And she said 5'11". My daughter was 5'6". Oh,
Kathy, listen, thank you so much, Kathy, okay? And I really appreciate this. Listen, and if you want me to talk to this guy, Carl Koppelman, I will.
Yeah.
And how can people get a hold of you?
Through that Facebook page.
Which is Find Aundria Bowman.
That's right. Or Facebook me.
Cathy Terkanian, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank your audience, too.
And now a word from our sponsors, emailrevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat, locate his hidden assets, locate his hidden bank accounts, find his current place of employment, and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com. Digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages. Create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com, 800-572-9762. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.